right, good morning. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I don't have any slides, so I apologize for that, and I also am not going to save you any money. So I'm going to leave that up to Bernard moving forward. Hey, I appreciate the invite to be here. It's an honor to be part of this audience. Dr. Hsu, Amanda, the entire Hsu Foundation, thank you for what you do for our airmen, for our community, for our young and up-and-coming leaders in this community. It's nothing short of incredible, and I'm grateful for the partnership that, for me, began in 2019 when I was just a colonel over at the First SAO with a young major named Mike Ristom, as we were trying to get our arms around what the innovation means in the military and what it means for AFSOC. And I gave Mike kind of a broad mandate to go innovate. No, I didn't tell him that. I told him I didn't need him sitting down, coming up with innovative ideas. I needed him to make the connections with our local leaders, our local academic institutions, and our own airmen to determine what are the things we need, who else is already doing it, how we can harness some of that stuff together into producing stuff that was actually tangible change for our airmen. So that started with you, Dr. Hsu, and I appreciate your friendship and your partnership over the years. Representative Maney, it's good seeing you again, and to all our civic leaders out here, General Massaro, the entire community that comes together for these things is incredible, and I'm grateful to be up here today. This is my fourth time being assigned at Hurlburt Field, so I'm as close to being a Floridian, a Northwest Floridian, as possible, despite being from New York. Two of my kids have graduated from Fort Walton Beach High School just by coincidence of movement through my assignments throughout the years, and it's been great. And I'll share just a quick story before I talk a little bit about innovation. So I spent this past weekend up in Boston with my wife, dropping off my middle child at her first year of college up at Northeastern. So, she loved bright futures, but not enough to use the money. So we decided she wanted to pay Boston rates. So I dropped her off there, and it was energizing to be on a campus with, roughly 5,000 new freshmen moving into their dorms, getting ready to tackle life. Their motivation, their excitement to do new things, to take on the world, was motivating. It was sad to see my daughter left behind. After 9 years of living on various bases, I feel like I took her out of the zoo and let her out into the wild. So there's a little bit of nervousness associated with that, but to see that buzz around the campus was motivating and energizing to me, and it's the same thing I felt this morning walking into this facility as I see what our young students, what our young airmen, what our older airmen are doing to try to tackle the broader innovation challenges that lie ahead for us. So after being on leave for the better part of a week, I can't think of a better way to kick off getting back to work than being over here this morning and seeing the great things that our young folks are doing, and it makes me certain that America's in good hands for the next 250 years as we let this next generation of folks do the great things that lie ahead for them. So I'm not really going to get into our innovation efforts, but I just want to provide some context of where I see AFSOC, where I see the Department of Defense, kind of where I see America, our defense industrial base, as we move into a evolving, dynamic, complex, and scary geopolitical environment. If you watch the news and know what's going on in the world, there's a lot of bad happening in a lot of parts of the world. And without getting into the operational details, I can tell you that the men and women of AFSOC are involved in almost all those things in some way, shape, or form, whether it's small behind-the-scenes things or doing some of the traditional things that AFSOC's kind of been known for over the years, which is eliminating terrorists, helping hunt down folks that wish to do America harm. We still do those things. We do them really, really well. But we also are trying to lean forward into what a future battlefield looks like and where we find ourselves in that battle space moving forward. Some of you may have heard this kind of analogy from my predecessors. General Slife talked about it a good bit, but for the AFSOC community, really three inflection points for how we started to how we got there. The first one would be the aftermath of the Iranian rescue attempt in 1980, where we attempted to cobble together a bunch of joint operators, helicopters, C-130s, airmen, Marines, naval personnel, to go deep into Iran and attempt to rescue American hostages being held by the Iranian government. As many of you know, that mission ended in tragedy at a refueling stop in the desert where we lost 8 Americans under the cover of darkness, and it was kind of a black eye on America. It showed our inability to do the things the nation wanted us to do. So in the aftermath of that, several things happened. One was the realization that we needed special operators that were across the Joint Force, were adequately trained, equipped, and organized, and ready to do those things on a moment's notice versus having to come together ad hoc in a time of need. So shortly after that failed attempt, the Joint Special Operations Command was formed in 1980, followed in 1987 by U.S. Special Operations Command, and then May 22nd in 1990 was Air Force Special Operations Command. That interim period there was defined by AFSOC training with our joint partners to be really good at high-end, exquisite missions, which was get in and get out. You know, it's a hostage rescue somewhere deep in a country. It's a rescue mission somewhere. It was designed to go and come home. And that led us to our second inflection point, which was 9/11. So, you know, again, a defining point in American history. And AFSOC in the joint special operations world were called to do different things. And what that really meant, and is what you see in our community here today, is, you know, 25 years of constant deployment. It wasn't get in and get out. It was go there, do the thing, and then keep doing the thing and get better and better. What was great about that, despite the deployments, the loss, all the tragedy that comes with war, is that we found ourselves exploiting the DNA that was a part of AFSOC, and that's innovation. We've been able to take the things we have and make them better, more efficient, more effective, more lethal. You know, if you take an AC-130 on September 10th of 2001 that had a howitzer and a couple guns on it, and you look at what we field today with Hellfire missiles, potentially longer range missiles, small diameter bombs. You look at what we did with a PC-12 that we leased, a small private prop plane that used by rich people. We took a handful of those, put high definition sensor balls on them, and we used those and evolved those over many years to make them incredibly good at detecting people that didn't want to be detected. You know, MQ-9, CV-22s, you name the thing, we were able to innovate throughout the years to make ourselves into what the nation needed us to be. The third inflection point is kind of where we're at right now, and that is a changing world environment, a rising China, a aggressive Russia on the eastern front of Europe, a growth in drug trafficking coming across our southern border. So it's complex, but what it lacks compared to the 1980 event and 9/11 of 2001 is that one unifying moment. The moment that said, you know, Americans, we need to be all in to do this thing. And that makes it harder because we don't have a rallying cry right now to get the investment we need in things like that are tied to the innovations we need. We have tons and tons of great ideas. There are airmen partnering with academia and industry to come up with incredibly intelligent, forward-looking capabilities. But in a world where that lack of a unifying rallying cry behind it, it makes the investment a little hard. So we have, you know, there's not money coming with it. And, you know, that staggers our innovation process, and it also binds us into the ways that we've always acquired defense capability. And I'll give you just a couple vignettes here, and don't hold me to the exact times and dates on this, but I think I'm just trying to paint a picture for you. So if you go back to 1940, the British needed a more advanced fighter to fight off the Germans. So they asked the Americans for help. This was before we'd entered the war. And in 120 days, industry came up with the P-51. So from concept to the first developmental aircraft was about 120 days. Within 11 months of that idea until the first flight, 11 months on how we did that. About, 24 months later, as America was fully engulfed in the war, we created the P-51B, which was our version of it, and that was about 9 months from idea to fielding on the battle space. So again, incredibly fast. If you jump forward to the 80s, you've got, if we take the F-22, which was designed to be the air dominance fighter, we needed air superiority. 1981 is when that requirement was identified. 1991 was the first time we flew it, and it was probably 1996 before we started fielding, and it was really the early 2000s before we got any combat capability out of that. F-35, incredible capability. The Joint Strike Fighter Office was stood up in 2001, I believe, somewhere around there. The idea was 1991-ish, and here we are in 2025 still trying to field the full capability and suite F-35 capabilities. So my point of that story is we have become very good in America of creating exquisite, perfect technology that is unbeatable by the enemy. But we are at a point in history where we have to be faster, we have to be more agile, and together with all the types of folks in this room, we've got to be able to adjust. If you look at the battle space over in the Ukraine-Russia front, where they're using one-way attack drones, just drone warfare by the thousands every day, they are adapting that technology in a matter of hours or days. So they learn from a mission, they get back, they've got people in a foxhole or in a bunker somewhere that are rewriting code on the spot. They are tinkering with it on the spot. They are 3D printing new things to put on those drones. And then the next mission, they are doing tactics that are completely different than what they did 24 hours ago. I would suggest, and I don't mean this as a derogatory statement by any means, but we are not in that same spot in America right now. We are used to relying on industry developing over time exquisite capabilities that are all the bugs are worked out of them before they get to them, or for the most part, and we need to move faster. Our decision loops need to be faster. Our funding loops need to be faster. We need to figure out, the Hsu Foundation's doing a lot with drones, and I think that is the future. The future's here. You see it in the battle spaces. You see it all over. I would suggest it's probably only a matter of time before we see drone swarms in the local area doing things. I don't have any hints that that's coming. I'm just telling you that, you see what's happening in the world. It doesn't take a lot of money, time, or technology to put the drone swarms together that we see kind of harassing some of our bases, both in the United States and around the world. And so we need to get inside that decision loop and innovate a lot faster and I'm not worried about the innovators themselves. What concerns me is the responsiveness and agility of the broader defense system to take those innovations and move at a speed of relevance. Because if we wait 10 years to develop a set of drone technologies, if we wait 2 years, if we wait 1 year to get something perfect, by the time it's fielded, its sustainment model is set up to keep it going, it'll be irrelevant technology. We need things that can be adjusted quickly, that we can trust airmen, soldiers, Marines, sailors to build in the field using the technology that already exists, and to keep us relevant. If we fail to do that, I think we're going to find ourselves with a lot of custom-built, exquisite drones that will be irrelevant by the time they get to the hands of our warfighters. So that's a kind of a rally cry I'd offer up to the audience here, is help us work with industry to move faster. There's going to need to be acquisition law change. There's going to need to be policy changed in order to move at a speed that will keep us up on par, at least, with our adversaries, because they're not, they don't have the luxury of being Americans, but they're also not bound by the policies and laws that America has. And that's, again, not a derogatory statement, just a simple fact of how we operate in America. And it's innovation has to be coupled with innovative policy, innovative law to make us as lethal as we can be. So let me pause right there. That was a lot to digest. I did tell Dr. Hsu I'd take a few questions if anyone's got anything that's on their mind. Interesting time to be in the Department of Defense. There's a lot going on. I can talk about just about anything you want to.
So we'll let them raise their hand maybe. Would that be helpful? And then I can bring a mic over. So do we have someone who wants to be the first to ask the general a question? Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for speaking. I hope I'm not jumping my chain of command by asking this question. I also am from Eglin. I'm curious. I know, I'm sorry. I'm curious, within your level, have you seen any speaking about innovation in the current constructs of our Department of Defense in regards to the space to make innovation possible? For me, as a prior Catalyst student here, I realized the biggest constraint to a lot of our abilities were access of the information that are available, just structural access that safeguard your normal day-to-day workflow, but possibly hinting at the need for new potential career fields, designations of somebody like me, just a maintenance troop that has the charge and conviction to, identify opportunities that need to be improved, but, I can't balance both my primary job and the innovation job, but being able to have something to where I can, spend some time in that space that gives me the access, authority, and charge from, leaders like yourself.
Yeah, it's a good question. I probably don't have a fulfilling answer for you. I would say at the senior leadership levels, we are looking at that broadly, but you can grab a seat, please. It's bound in the realities of what day-to-day looks like in the Air Force, specifically for us. Changing career fields, changing the way we assess people and bring people into the Air Force takes time. It takes years to do that. We've done a little bit, an example would be with our cyber force. We've just created a warrant officer corps, which is a incredibly seismic change for the Air Force. It doesn't seem to be like it should be, but it has taken many years to even open up the window to entertain that a little bit. And cyber was the first step. I'd like to see it go farther to enable some of that. I will say for my partners in U.S. Army Special Operations Command, they have just within USASOC have established a robotics AFSC MOS. So they are sending soldiers, warrant officer types to be robotics, autonomy, AI type experts, so they can bring some of the things I talked about into the individual units. As far as the spaces and being able to break you off to do some of the stuff full time instead of working as a maintenance officer, I mean, I'd like to say it's easy because it should be, but as you know, I mean, we're not overflowing with maintenance personnel. We are short everywhere. I mean, I think the last I heard, the Air Force is about 25. Just that, if we snap the chalk line today, the Air Force is about 25,000 people short of what we need just to do the jobs we're supposed to be doing today. Those are validated positions that are not funded, so there's no humans in them. So what are we going to stop doing? And again, that's a very rhetorical question, but it's really hard to take that and say we're going to stop doing some things because there's congressional pressures to keep doing some things. There are national needs to keep doing things. There are reasons to keep doing those things where we're waiting for the technology to evolve and to automate, but it's just slow, and that's why I said it's unfulfilling, because if you look at pockets of our adversaries, they're moving faster because they are not hindered by our big bureaucracy. So again, I hope that scratched it a little bit.
Question? Yes, sir? The Honorable Graham Fountain.
General, we're glad to have you back.
It's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you again. And like I said, I go back when you were Colonel and maybe Lieutenant Colonel the first time you were here.
Yeah, I did. I dabbled in Lieutenant Colonel for
yes,
a little while here.
Yeah. It didn't take long, and you rose up very, very fast. But you were always a great person to have here and a leader at Special Ops. And as a honorary commander out at your shop, I haven't. Back when Sheriff Gilbert and I went kind of through a program at Eglin. Just to tell you how old I am, we didn't have an honorary commander program. Now, we went and did some of the stuff at Eglin, but we didn't do it. But I enjoyed being an honorary carpetbagger out at your shop. But every so often, I wonder, in the lives of special operations that y'all are doing, how much do you think AI, robotics, drones, you name it, is going to affect people that do the military that does the special operations, as far as will we see those forces stay the same, start getting a reduction in those forces because of all the technology and transferring people instead of doing, flying airplanes to bad places and doing all these special ops? Are we going to be doing much more in the technology world where we won't have as many military personnel? I think about that sometimes, just haven't gone through the 942nd out there, and wanted to see what you thought about that.
That's a great question. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. And I guess we could probably talk for hours about what AI looks like in the military or what it should look like. I'll give you just a couple kind of two ends of the spectrum as I look at the problem right now. One of them is within like our own headquarters. There are tools available already that the government's already paid for or they're publicly available that I believe can make us move faster and more efficient doing the day-to-day bureaucratic administrative things within our headquarters. So, if you look, anyone that's spent time in the military, around the military, or associated with a military member, we spend a disproportionate amount of our time building PowerPoint slides, presenting PowerPoint slides, doing Excel spreadsheets, those type of things. There are technologies available we can have on our phone right now that will build that stuff for us like that. And so, in the last 2 weeks, this is decisions I've made that we are going all in our headquarters to figure out how we can use AI to help us reduce the bureaucratic workload. Some of that is because it's time, and we're going to get left in the wake of the rest of the world. My kids can do stuff faster on their phones than I can do in my headquarters because it's a lot of old folks like me and that are used to PowerPoint, and that's what we do. So some of it's cultural change, some of it's just access to those programs. The access is here now, and we need to move faster. On the other end is the higher end technology, the more exquisite things. And I see a world we're investing in some of this right now, like how do we automate cockpits beyond just an autopilot? And I could see a world where there are pilotless aircraft. We have some of that now that are AI. I think we're a ways off on that, so I'm not trying to say AFSOC is on the verge of fielding, C-130s that don't have aircrew on them. But there are things that we are investing in to try to reduce the workload and let the crew members focus on only the things that the humans need to be focused on. And if you can use AI to help with target recognition, if you can use it to help do the tasks that require time and just step, if you look at starting up an aircraft, it is a checklist-driven thing where you go step by step by step, and it takes, we plan like 30 minutes to start up an aircraft, and that's really limited by the human, where if you gave that digitally, the aircraft can start itself by the push of a button remotely for, just like many of our cars can do in a matter of seconds. And so we're investing in some of that technology. And then I think the in-between space is where AFSOC finds itself in one-way attack, offensive drones, counter small UAS to protect our installations and our fielded forces downrange. So there is a big spot for that in our community. And we're going to try to move as fast as we can, because if we don't, we are going to find ourselves on the outside looking in. Okay. Thank you. One more?
No, I think that we may have exhausted some of the questions.
Oh,
we've got one. Here we go.
Sir, Jesse Bowden. I'm here from Kansas City. Actually, I'm wondering how we can work with how small businesses can work with your teams to use SBIRs, STTRs, OTAs, CPOs. How can we transition technology that's on contract now faster to your teams, your innovation crew, work with your team to rapidly deploy things?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we can get you linked with the folks in the back that just raised their hand. They can give you the contact information. We do a lot of SBIR work. We do a lot of StratFi work. I'd say we are as innovative in that space as any command in the Air Force. So we are aggressive in partnering with as many small businesses as possible. Where I need help, though, is how do you take that partnership and make it into actual combat capability that is scalable? And I think if you look across the DoD right now, that's That's the frozen middle piece, for lack of a better term. I'm not a big fan of that term, but it's, for lack of a better way to put it, it's how do you take something that's really good and get it on an industrial scale in a budget cycle that makes it relevant, because right now we are building the beginnings of the 28 budget. And so for me to take something that we could create together and say, yeah, I think we can put that into our budget in 28 or 29 is incredibly underwhelming, unfulfilling, and irrelevant over time. And so it's how do you get that stuff and pull it forward so we have the funding now or the authorities to do multi-year funding to get to a place where we can actually take that technology and make it relevant, because if not, we end up in that same cycle where 3 years from now we'll have funding for it, but you'll be on to a different partner because we can't show the money, and the technology risks being outdated if we don't move fast enough. So great question, but right behind you, they will pair you up with our industry liaison team, and we'll see if there's any chance to partner. All right, hey, again, thanks for the time here. I probably went a little long. I'm thankful for everyone being here. I'm thankful for the commitment and partnership and friendship that this community continues to show for the men and women of AFSOC and the men and women of the U.S. military that populate a large percentage of this region. Again, I think I'm officially a transplanted Floridian now, so this neighborhood means as much to me as anybody, and I'm glad to be part of it. And Dr. Hsu, thank you for all you do and for the foundation and the chance to be here today.